United States CPS makes upwards of $3 billion per day on trafficking and selling our children. The corruption may start with the caseworker but goes through the judicial system, passing the governor through the Senate and into the White House. The entire system has a hand in the business known as CPS.
Our children are stolen every minute of a 24-hour day. They are being robbed of their innocence, their trust, their happiness. As parents, we are isolated and betrayed by a government we trust. States are balancing budgets on kids' lives. Only 12% of the kids taken will be reunified. Title IV funding is being riveted with fraud.
We need to stop CPS and abolish CPS.com is leading the way. Join us.
All right. See if we can get me out here. There we go. How we doing, everybody, on this glorious Saturday? I am Vinny, and this is CPS Victims Hunting Justice Vinny Edition. And it is Saturday night. I'm a little late. I was trying to eat my dinner. Sure, some of you know how that is. You want to get your food down before you go and do something. So I wanted to make sure I ate some dinner first. So we're going to get back to kind of the conversation of last week, of what I've been through, the stuff that I'm dealing with. So just a little recap. We did discuss, kind of what I've been going through as far as the courts, and the violation of my rights, them denying me to see my children, them blocking me from seeing my children, all on allegations that are not even true. What happened is that this person that made the allegations was coerced into these allegations. It says it right in the police report. I seen that there was a nasty little comment last night. I'm going to address that today, and I'm going to tell you guys, if you want to believe a fucking news post, go for it. Because I tell you what, unless you really know me in person, you don't fucking know me at all. And that's how simply I'm going to put it today. Don't make judgments unless you know what is actually what. Don't sit there and say, well, oh, you did this and it says it in the news. Just because it says it in the news doesn't mean I did it. I'm sorry, but don't be looking at me like I'm a criminal, because I have had a clean record for over 20 years. The last time I got in trouble was because I was speeding on my ATV, trying to get somewhere because I had a flat tire and I was on my rim and I didn't want to fuck up my rim. So I was trying to hold my ATV up to one side and I was speeding to keep the leverage so it stayed off one tire. That was the last time I got in trouble. And I was doing 45 and a 35. So I was 10 over. That's right. They do not know what goes on in my house. That is absolutely correct, Debbie. Just like CPS thinks that they're all powerful and that they're gods. I'm going to tell you right now, CPS is full of shit. They do not have the authority to walk in our house and take our children at all, per Constitution. And I'm not talking state constitution, because these states that make their own constitutions, it does not trump the actual Constitution of America. That is straight up. No way they can challenge our Constitution vice their little petty bullshit constitutions in these states. I'm sorry, but Constitution is Constitution. And your First Amendment and your Second Amendment rights are Constitution. They're put there for a reason. Same with your due process. They're put there for a reason. No, they do not. See, even Sammy knows. They have no right to violate your constitutional rights. None. None, 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 none. People can say, oh, well, they've done this, they've done that, and they do have. No, they do not. They do not have rights to walk in your fucking house and take your children. That is kidnapping, coercion, and threatening. And we would not, we the people, will not tolerate that. We are coming for CPS. And we're going to come for these corrupt judges in this fucking state out here in Maine, too, because it goes all the way up to Supreme Court. That's how far the corruption has gotten into our Supreme Courts up here. And you guys can look it up. It's on News Channel 13. This is no lie. There's a post. It says, I can read it to you. Again, I'm just going to instill on you guys, this is a blatant violation of constitutional rights. Let me go to my wall here. Okay. Right here. Get it out. Yeah. Get it out. Yep. I'm waiting for it to load. My internet's been kind of shoddy. I was kind of debating on doing the show because it's been bumping in and out, in and out. I don't know what the hell's going on. Like it's not even loading my Facebook. Oh, here we go. All right. Right here. Maine Supreme Court blocks lawmakers from accessing records in child death cases. So our Supreme Court blocked our own lawmakers from getting into child deaths in Maine. I wonder why. Because they're trying to hide that they killed these children and they allowed them to be killed. Just like they're allowing all the trafficking to go on and they're trying to hide it. I guarantee you, before they can get this overturned, they junk them files. Guaranteed. They put them in the incinerator so they don't exist. Go out with the show. Yep. So it also reads, the state's highest court ruled Thursday the state record related to the deaths of 4 children in 2021 are confidential and may not be released to lawmakers. The children had all been in the state child protective system and died from abuse or neglect. The Maine Supreme Judicial Court ruled that professional staff in the Office of Program Evaluation of the Government Accountability, or OPEGA, should have full access to the DHS records, but lawmakers themselves shouldn't. Child advocates and former lawmakers Bill Diamond says the ruling is a mistake. Also read, Portland officials considered change to help improve city. It seems like the intent to not share information, especially information that could be determined detrimental to people who have made decisions regarding children's safety, said Diamond, founder of Walk a Mile in Their Shoes. Diamond says one solution to get the records would be for lawmakers to change the laws themselves. So if that tells you how deep our corruption is, it goes all the way up to our Supreme Court. I haven't seen anything about federal court, but I know it's in the Supreme Court. So I would be very leery in some of these Supreme Courts. If you're not getting heard or you're not getting any kind of whatever, Parents, you need to be warned what's going on behind the scenes. They do have done numbers. They are a corporation, and corporations that are getting money have nothing to do with we the people. And this ain't false knowledge. This is straight up knowledge. We the people govern the government. We call the shots. And it's time that we, the people, take back our freedoms from these individuals. And we get rid of CPS, DHS, the abundance program. We abolish every single one of them because they don't do shit for any of us. Supreme Courts are murderers. Yep, they basically are. They put people away, not knowing what is actually going on, because they're not even paying attention. They're saying, "Oh, well, we'll make a fast buck under the government, so we'll take this case and we'll push it through because we're going to make something off it, a kickback on their kickback, so to say." Yep, it's all about the money, Tammy. Correct. It's all about how much money they can make for their corporation. Kickback on kickback on kickback on kickback. They're all connected. Follow the dots, people. Start following the dots. Start following the paper trail. Look into things. Investigate. Use your knowledge. I know you all were taught the Constitution growing up, because I was. That's what we got to do. We got to start using our knowledge. If we don't, then I don't know. This economy, this world is going to go to shit in a handbasket. Use your knowledge. I'm going to tell you that right now. We keep letting these people walk away and do what they want to do. We shouldn't. We need to stand up and fight. Hold on, I'm trying to send out send this out here. Get some more people. That way they see it come across their screen. Please like and share the live, guys. It helps helps the channel quite dramatically. Let's hear it from Vinny. Yeah, right. Let's hear it from Vinny, Tammy. That's right. I'm kind of a straight shooter like the rest of our crew and our family that we got here. We're gonna tell you how it is. We really don't care. As Darren was talking about earlier today in the main show, we are putting our heads out on the chopping block by speaking against these people. They've done a lot of shady shit to people, silenced them, broke their rights to freedom of speech, all kinds of things. And this should not be happening. I'm sorry, but it should not. I've been fighting for over a year now. From start to now, I've fought, and you know what? I may have not gotten much of anywhere, but here I am. I'm still sharing my story. I'm still defying a corrupt government because they are corrupt. Every last one of them. I'm probably not going to do a very, very long show tonight, guys. I'm going to probably cut it short about half hour or so. I got other things to do and get done. I still got to go take my shower. So I got things I need to do before I go to bed. Gunner's calling me or trying to reach out to me, and I can't answer because I'm live. That's kind of rude. But I like my phone's been going off constantly today, like constant. I haven't had a minute to myself. Let me message him real quick. So yeah, money, money, money. It's all about the money. I figured, Herbert would pop in, but I don't even see him tonight. Gunner says he's trying to find the show but can't find it. So I gotta go grab him the link to the show. But I don't even see him tonight. Mr. Gunner. And aha, you did find it. Gunner says he's trying to find the show but can't find it. Oh, you don't have. Oh, you don't have. Yeah, I didn't send the link out tonight. I don't know why, but I will shoot it to you real quick, Gunner. Give me a second. I have to do it a certain way because, well, this thing is stupid as shit sometimes. Ah, you did find it. I have to like use Messenger, send it to myself through another thing, and then do it that way. It's a pain in the rear. It really is. It gets on my nerves. All right, give me 1 second, Gunner, and I will get that right over to you. Text message right there. Copy link. Go to Gunner. I like how I say go to Gunner. Gunner, I'm getting ready to email you it. So give me 1 second. Do. I don't know why it's okay. All right, I think I just sent it, Gunner. I think, pretty sure. IV. That's Gunner. That's Gunner, guys. Ah, so he didn't have the link to my show. He had the link to Tiffin the Punisher, but not, and to the other show, but he didn't have my link to my show. So hopefully Gunner will be joining here in a minute. If not, I'll have to send him the link via text. Ah, there's Mr. Gunner right there. Mr. Gunner.
What's going on?
What's going on?
Well, I done pissed everybody off again. I'm banned again from TikTok. Not even hardly get it started, but as soon as there's a little thing to link to my YouTube page or I put a picture up there, it all of a sudden, oh, there he is. Stalkers. May have to just change the whole sign-in name completely and go ghost on it and do
Yeah,
collab.
well, I see they're making they made some other changes too, because you know how when you used to log into like Facebook and at the top on the bar it used to show you videos.
Yeah, yeah.
It's no longer there. They took it down.
Yeah, you have to scroll through your actual page and then
Yep.
it's a line item now.
Yep.
Just enough more to piss you off. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
so those things are gone, and like I said, it's I've had a couple pretty decent days. So uh, we've had a couple of rabbit trails, legally and research speaking, going through that. And Vinny, this is something that you've kind of helped out that maybe the people don't realize is that there's actually a law against corporations being involved at all at anything to do with your law enforcement or anything judicial, any part of government. They cannot be a corporation, cannot be part of government. The problem with that, and there's case law on that, it's never been overturned, and Vinny's got it and looked it up.
Yeah.
The issue is every single one of them have got are incorporated. They actually, every state went incorporated, every county went incorporated. I mean, because it was listed as having what's called a Dun and Bradstreet number, and or I think it's called EIU or EUA or some shit like that.
EIU. Yep.
Yeah, EIU. So now the federal government has taken over and says, no, we're just going to get it directly from the federal government, like you do your FEIN number. So they've got control because Duns and Bradstreet or Bradstreet and Dunn, however you want to do it, your Duns report is what some people will call it for business. They changed that just recently in 2002. So now they're all listed under the federal government as corporations. And according to the law, the Constitution, no corporation is supposed to be doing anything with government. When the governments did that, believe it or not, and that's one of the questions I think that we're getting ready to ask the Supreme, the federal courts, is if this is the case and the case law stands, everybody that they've ever done business with, one way or another, of collecting funds from taxpayers has been illegal. So now you're looking at fraud all across the board, because when you became incorporated, you should have done that. Now, what was the year on that particular case law? I don't have it in front of me. Do you happen to have it in front of you, Ben?
I don't.
Well, it goes back quite a ways, but like I said, it's never been overturned. The idea was to keep the original. Our founding fathers and those that followed after realized that there was going to be a problem, that they needed to regulate commerce, not the people.
Yep.
The only time law enforcement ever got involved, even in the earliest histories of this and that, was when somebody basically killed somebody or there was property damage and you had to go before a judge or a magistrate to answer for those things. But now we have come to the point with the Chevron doctrine. We are now being micromanaged. So the amount of shit that is stacking up, not just against each state, but just for the 4th, 14th, and some of the others of full exposure, that there's going to have to be a crack of the whip. There has to be. And the only way to make some of these states do these things is through the court systems, and then enforcement through the Department of Justice and the FBI. I know a lot of people, I think, get the misconception of federal government's so bad. The point is all of this is actually originating from states and state sovereignty. So it's not just one state doing it, it's all 50 of them that
Yep.
have ran with this, and everybody wants to blame the feds or the FBI don't do this or the DOJ don't do it. No, because they've come down hard on state sovereignty. But the issue is with that state sovereignty and not having federal oversight like they should have, and a compliance officer or something. I mean, I've gone down the rabbit hole of just about every state as far as their structure of what they almost consider a compliance officer. In other words, you can pass things, but the question is whether or not it meets, one, the Constitution is the ultimate goal. Um, we should not be passing any laws, codes, rules, or regulations that are unconstitutional. That's the bottom line. If an employer does that to an employee in the business world, they're fined for it severely for doing those things. Having you do something, we'll say, and even the standards for most workplaces too are called OSHA. Now, OSHA will come in and crack the whip. This is not safe. We don't, your compliance officer from the state, from what I'm understanding, is your attorney general. So I have a question, and if any of the attorney generals for all the states go out there, when was the last time your office had a section that took and went through all the policies and procedures, as well as your laws and everything they're doing, to make sure that they are compliant with the Constitution, not in your verbatim or your point of view, but because that's gone now, remember, because of Chevron doctrine. Over 40 years under the Chevron doctrine, they don't get that option anymore. They now have to follow the case law, which means every state is going to have to go through an audit of their policies, procedures, and laws to make sure that they are compliant with current constitutional rulings on how things are ruled under the Constitution. That's what's the beautiful thing about our Constitution, is that even though we screw up as a country, we don't have to tear the whole thing down and everything else. We have a set, we can just go in and gut that particular thing and not go back to it. Right. I think it needs to be a lot of things are coming to light. And I think after this new administration comes in, Department of Education, there's going to be an awakening and all that. And there's going to be no more state funding or no federal funding for it anymore, because it's going to shut down and let the states do it. I think that comes down, that's where the power of the states kind of come in. But the idea for the federal courts is to keep the states in line and compliant. Not so much with their own laws. You can seek retrieval from your state to your federal government for some of the laws and everything else is. But the thing is, there needs to be accountability. There are a lot of things that are on the books, and that's in police departments too. Reading through some of their manuals and handbooks and everything else, there's a lot of stuff in some of those that are unconstitutional. But the idea of the thing is that we have now valued material possessions and everything else, and this is our society, more than a human life, more than the life of a child, more than the life of a mother, more than the life of a father, and let alone not even close, and not even more than a family, especially over $1. I would much rather you see get divorced than anything else, rather to honor your commitments for good, bad, ugly. People say, oh, well, it was bad, it was this, it was that. Great. What happens when you do go through those hard times with things? I mean, what happens when you're faced with situations like what we're in, and a lot of you guys are in? We actually my wife went down the rabbit hole of that, and it tears marriages apart most time. People won't stay together because of CPS, that they're tearing families apart in more ways than one, because the system would rather see a single mom dependent on the system and a man just be a workforce for this. I believe it all. I believe child support should be for absent fathers. I think it should be automatically 50-50. Do you both need now? One of the things, well, this person's narcissist, this and that. Well, you're going to have to deal with some of the system as far as some guidelines of you can do whatever, but you can't break the law. And understand you're coming out of a relationship too that you really don't like each other, and at the same time, there's a lot of emotion in it. And that's one thing that's clear. I mean, those are rough times to go through, divorce, and everybody's got their reasons for it. I mean, if you discuss something up front that you want, say, monogamy, and then you have a partner that takes and steps out on you several times, or doing a lot of other things this and there, well, yeah, you've breached the contract. That's something not to go through. I mean, there are things that are forgivable, and then there's things that actually break the camel. We'll say the straw that broke the camel's backs, but those are things you really need to discuss before you get married. What is going to be the one thing that's going to cause you to leave? Well, You know, if I get sick or indigent, are you going to leave me? Or are you going to look for the next person? I mean, believe it or not, Vinny, that's a scary fucking thing with my condition too. When I first found out I had it, um, I look like I look like Stay Puft Marshmallow Man because I retain so much water.
Mm.
And just to share on the personal side, my first wife, they basically told me I didn't have far to live. And so I went on, you know, a special diet and some exercise, changed some things. I did things non-alternatively because basically they were ready to put me in the ground. My ex was already looking for a replacement, and there was a guy right there hanging around the fucking corner, like there always is,
Yep.
snooping around, thought he was going to move right in. Well, the problem was is I got better, and they didn't like that. Well, by that time, when somebody pretty much writes you off as dead in their mind and in their psyche and everything else, they don't consider you anymore. You're not human. You're as though you never existed, which tells you a lot about a person's personality on how they act different now that somebody is missing. And that's where I say a lot of this, we jump into relationships and marriage, and these kids have this thing, but we're not really training our kids to watch out for dangers, not just with CPS, but with other people, of understanding boundaries and circles and what's acceptable and what's not. But at the same time, letting your child understand what their freedom means. You have the right. Somebody comes in, well, you shouldn't talk this particular way. And this, listen, if I'm in public is one thing. If I'm in a certain setting or that's fine. I will tend to have be a little bit more respectful of my audience or anything else, as not to offend them, especially when you're trying to get a point across, to use certain language, you know, like this, because some people just, oh my gosh, that's cursing. I've got a whole different conversation for those people when it comes down to cursing, but words have power. If I want to turn around and just turn around and look at somebody of, you know, I'm sorry, man or woman, and I can differentiate between the two of, and I'm going to say this, and you may not like it, and you can call it under what it is. And these are bodily compositions or descriptions of female dogs, an asshole or a bitch. If you're fitting the title to the thing to call somebody out, it should be a red marker for us to stop and look at ourselves and go, what am I doing wrong? Not so much about their feelings, but more, is it right or wrong? Because there's a lot of things out there, whether you like it or not, especially with CPS, is, well, no matter what your fucking excuse is, the absolutes of the Constitution says stay the fuck out of my house. Unless you got a warrant or a court order or there's an emergency, you have no right in here. You don't even have the right to ask me to gain entrance.
No, I don't know if some of the people that are watching are in Maine, but Maine actually has a law that state that if you have children that are teenagers living in your household, okay, you can give your teenage kids wine or an alcohol beverage as long as you're not letting them go out in public. It's allowed under Maine state law.
Here's the point. There's a thing called the sanctity, and this is in the Constitution, is the sanctity of your home. Whatever you want to do behind closed doors, whether it's homosexuality or this or this or that, I don't care if you fuck a pillow. I mean, when it comes down to it, I don't care. That's behind your doors. Unless it's considered illegal to where you're harming something or someone right, or someone's property, it comes back down to that under the law. Leave me the fuck alone. But the problem is all through I want to say the whole late 80s, 90s movement, everything else, you had this whole coming out of the closet, and it looks like that with every single dust bunny and every piece of shit that came out of the closet, somebody needed to vacuum that motherfucker. Just because you're out of the closet doesn't mean you're clean. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I'm just saying there's right ways and wrong ways to go around it. The point is, it's really nobody's business. I mean, what I do with that's like there's laws with some of them, and this is not a joke. There are laws in the books of certain states that only a certain sexual position is allowed by the law. I'm serious. Look it up. It's some of those laws.
Some states, yeah.
So if you're doing doggy, or let's put it this way, or you're doing what's the church word, sodomy, in other words, you're doing anal or backdoor type stuff, Yes, this is an adult show just for disclosures. And hey, this is body autonomy. There is nothing wrong with it. It is not of sexual nature. This is for educational purposes only, just for all the, bean counters. The point is we need to have the understanding that words do have power. And a lot of that slipped through with that too, because you start seeing the same word having multiple meanings that have nothing to do with each other. Give you one example. In the 1920s, the word gay actually meant happy, joyful. You could look it up in the dictionary. That person was gay. You say that in today's term, that's a whole different thing. And I don't even know if they go by that anymore, because they've become so, what about my subgroup, my subgroup, my subgroup? And that's where I have a lot of problems with some of that stuff. If you want to do half those things, I don't give a shit. You want to pay to have, turn from a boy to a girl or however you want it. Great. That's your personal thing. It doesn't mean that the world has to fucking know about it or celebrate it.
Yeah.
Live in a world, in a community that accepts it. And who gives a shit what the rest of the world thinks? Deal with the world you live in.
Right.
And that's been half of the thing of overreach, even within government, is people wanting to get into your home. I think, like I said, it's getting ready. If they're already shutting me down left and right, and they know shit's coming, and they know we've got some people's here, and we're already talking this to where I'm getting shut down crazy. I'm surprised they haven't come after you guys on this show, or they just don't know about it. Or, of course, I think Darren did get a report on one of his one time for something, but the point is this is called freedom of speech, people. I don't care if you like it or not. Change the fucking channel, turn it off. I don't give a shit. If it doesn't interest me, I'm not going to sit there and watch a show for a half hour, for an example, on candle making if I don't give a shit about how candles are fucking made.
Yep.
Other than that, it's none of my business. If I never make a fucking candle in the world, I can offer some suggestions, for example, of, hey, I'd like some vanilla flavor in there, or hey, is that safe? To where it's not going to cause issues for my lungs that they were finding out that was putting in some of the candles and the other things that were there. Or is this done? Or is this okay? Is this okay? Is oils case? Hey, that perfume, hey, that's got a substance in it. Even though it burns slow, it still gets in the air and it gets into your lungs and causes issues. You don't believe me that? You've got radon gas. You've got that they're worried about in a lot of places. You're looking at sewer gas that can cause long-term health benefits. And a lot of it is not just a one and done, it's prolonged exposure. But at the same time, Benny, we don't give everybody the whole story.
Right.
We want bits and pieces. And a lot of times when you hear somebody comment, they won't give the whole story. In other words, and that's where CPS has come in, especially of when I talk about a story, is that's what every time they spin a perspective and story that fits their perspective, and that's the one they're taught to go with to file the reports. It's how they're trained. That has nothing to do with what goes on in a person's daily life. If you were really concerned that something was going on, or we had asked for help, you would have somebody in there to analyze your family, sit in with your family, spend the hours they needed with your family to give an objective point of view of what they see as, hey, you're not being rough enough on the kids, or you're not. Once again, you've got some people, and people disagree with me, and that's, once again, that's your constitutional right to do so. I don't feel it's fair to your children. But the idea of parents is to raise a child to live in a world without us. I'm sorry, we're not going to be here forever. I can tell you that much here now, just because here's proof. I could have been dead a couple months ago, and I'm done. Could my kids have survived? I gave them the best I could while I was here. There's still things they're going to have to learn on their own, but I don't want them to get to the point they hit the real world and go, what the hell is this?
Right.
Hey, you mean eventually I got to pay for my own food, my own this, my own that, a roof over my head? Yeah, come look at my bills. You're 18 now. Come look at the house bills. This is what you consume in food. This is what you have to go out and trade your skill set for to make money. When you have no skill sets, you ain't going to get paid jack. Right. When you take and have a good skill set, you're going to get paid really good money. The idea is find something that you can do that requires less time and more free time. Because the idea is to better your life. This whole concept of we have now of slaving away at, 12-hour days, 5 to 7 days or 6 days a week, and getting 2 weeks of vacation and maybe having enough time off just to sleep is bullshit. It's not a life. It means you need more people in that field to balance that out. But we're not going about we're going off of profit margins, not what is best for we the people. And
Right.
that's where the push of where the corporations have come in, influenced the government with lobbying and everything else to basically a form of slavery in the people. Why? I should be able to say what my stuff's worth and say, listen, I need X amount of dollars to, but once again, commercialism comes in because it's not just what you need. Because go ask somebody, well, I need that. No, you don't. That's not a necessity. You have no idea what a necessity is. And that comes back to some of your upbringing that we as Americans, we don't travel as much as other countries or anything else does. We don't see third world countries. I mean, some people do that, take and do like mission trips and stuff like that, but go to another country. Go see what it's like. I'm not talking the touristy stuff. Take a drive through the woods with somebody that's local or somebody that you know in another country. A lot of missionaries see a lot of that stuff. They go to the basic people, the basic worker, and they're out there in these little villages.
Yep.
But it's not like that. There's people that they have to go get their water for the day. You have water so long as you're paying that water bill there, you can run that thing for a month straight, as much water as you want.
And you're gonna pay for it.
Well, once again, we're going to trade that. There, because it's so limited, it's just portion. Do they all pay for it? Yeah, but at the same time, a sense of community comes together of those that we don't have. And then you have things like, stuff that happened in North Carolina. All of a sudden, the neighbors started taking care of each other. West Virginia boys were putting in the road. You had other people from Tennessee, stuff that was happening in Tennessee, rescue things, efforts, people from South Carolina, Florida, all these people just showing up to help, even sending out the damn electric crews. And that's some fucked up shit to not pay those bastards, all those linemen to go in there and fix the infrastructure. Just leave it. They could do without it. What the hell?
Yeah. No.
I mean, I would seriously, right there, if you want to talk about creating what you call, or what the FBI would call a homegrown terrorist, do you not think you just gave it the perfect formula? CPS stole their kids, a natural disaster wiped it out. You can't get no help from fucking FEMA, and the rest, and half of your family or your spouse is dead.
Yep.
How do you think this is going to go over of creating something when you're causing the same issue, when your own government is creating your own enemies against its own people? And they took control. They were stealing generators from one person, a sheriff's department over in North Carolina, stealing generators that was caught on them. Oh, well, that's this, that. You got one in the back of your truck, deputy. Oh, well, and then starting to threaten them with going to jail and all sorts of stuff. I go, who's the thief?
Right.
And the only difference is you got a gun. This other person may have a gun. I don't know. But the only thing separating you is that badge and maybe a piece of paper. But other than that, that's inhuman. That was crimes against humanity that happened in North Carolina.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely was.
So I don't think we've seen the last, mark my words, and I could be wrong, but maybe after my time, we'll say, because I don't know how long I'll still be here, just to be real and honest, because that's the way I keep it, is real. After I'm gone, you may hear about somebody that grew up and was part of the flood and anything else and ends up doing a terrorist attack on American soil because of the way the government was treated. And he paid his taxes in like everybody else and didn't get the relief. So you want to tell me where FEMA is and then I can't live in a tent? Otherwise, you take my children and then you've done this and you've done that. I mean, right there, that's not a free country. That's not a country under under a republic. That's not when people came in to help each other, they were turned away. That's what America used to be known for, pulling together, especially after, World War II and everything else, and World War I, of coming together as a country to help each other out. I mean, generally when there was any other kind of, tornadoes or hurricanes or this or that, you don't hear Florida or Texas or some of the others coming in there and complaining. Why? Because a lot of people helped. And it wasn't just Red Cross. It wasn't just FEMA. It wasn't just these organizations that do this shit for profit. You had groups that, hey, I'm making a run down there because I got family down there. I've got a trailer, or hook me up with a trailer and I'll just take a trailer. I can only do so much, but I'm going to make sure that people are taken care of and enough extra for a few others. but we've lost that sense of community. We've lost that sense of family. And it's not people that are doing it. You know, the government has been the one that, and you can call conspiracy theorists or not, but they're facts. You've been poisoned by your food. You're over medicated. They don't push natural, you know, remedies or anything else that are healthier for your body or could actually cure some of this stuff because it's not profitable, because our basis isn't on having a better human life or the improvement of life, which I think should be part of the criteria for some of this stuff. If this doesn't better human life, and I'm not talking because you think so, I'm talking cold hard facts, show me the proof type thing, not a theory. Okay, like CPS is a theory. If we get involved, we can stop all this child abuse. Yeah, but you created child trafficking, motherfuckers.
Yep.
Not only did you not cure the problem,
You made it worse.
you made it fucking worse. But
But
gee, how was
I,
that saying? What did Ronald Reagan say? The thing that an American citizen should ever take in fear is someone saying, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
yeah,
That kind of holds true today.
we're about out of that time, Gunner, though, because I need to shower and go do a couple other
When
things.
you shower, you just don't go out in the snow and roll around naked and then let it melt
Yeah,
off.
no.
Soap up real quick and then go out and freeze it and then come back in and melt it off. That's rich.
You.
Debbie, I'll be dead honest with you. The schools don't need to be fixed. They need to be torn down.
Yep.
Those need to turn into veteran centers and homeless shelters. And it's already got classrooms and everything else there. There's food, there's showers. That should be what we should be taking care of, and completely gut the VA. You need help. There's a facility there for our veterans there. And it's done in every county. So people don't have to leave somewhere to go. My honest opinion, and this is my opinion, homeschool your children. Why? Because all they need to do is learn how to do math and read. That's all a school was supposed to do, a public school, and educate you supposedly on being a citizen, you know, enough to take and do it. But who is the push behind it? You know, that's the Rockefellers and some of the others that went through there and says, no, I want a better worker, not a better citizen. So guess what happened? That system's a failure because it's based off of money and corporations. And that's just the way it is. But we forget the one thing that we are not teaching, that public school can never give, is your family's heritage, your history, your recipes. Those are gone. And if you think you have enough time, it's not. And to look at anything, yes, it's rough to take and go out there. But once again, if we don't do it and there's nobody out there, and that's what a lot of this is getting ready to happen and is happening, is people are refusing to go back to work now. You know, mothers are choosing to stay home. I'm not going to do it. Why? Because by the time I go pay for the babysitter, my gas, my clothes, my this, my that, I'm only making $1 or $2 per hour and missing out on raising my children, and it's not worth it. I mean, but once again, if you don't have a good solid family support system where the man can go out there and bust his butt 12, 16 hours a day and not after 6 hours, somebody, you know, is blowing him up, come spend time with me, I'm earning for my family. I'm doing my role. But once again, and if those need to be reversed for whatever reason, I've got no problem with that either. But it's about respect and it's about family and about making it work and teaching our children our heritage. Most of you, I guarantee you, you probably don't even know your great grandparents' names.
I know mine because my great grandfather is the same name as me, so I know mine.
Well, once again, this is out of statistics. A majority do not. Most of them couldn't tell you your story of how you got to this country, or you know, you know, who was the family that brought you up? How far back can you trace it? What's your family's history? What's your culinary design? Here's the reason that is important, because that also goes for your health, and most people don't realize that. Yeah, truckers have a rough life. So does anybody on the road. The oil field workers, all those other things. That's why, you know, they pay them good money for staying away, but you know, they spend it so fast and everything else, and they end up with 2 or 3 divorces. But the concept is raising children of finding somebody that, number one, your house should be a home of peace, guys. Um, not none of that other stuff. And if you don't have peace there, there's the core of your problem. Um, the second part is money's just money. You guys realize you can trade. Money isn't everything. You trade other things.
Barter.
I don't have to do that all the time. You don't have to have money all the time. And you
You
know
can
what?
barter.
This is the government off completely because you're legally allowed to trade with no taxes. I can get the same thing you went to the store, buy it secondhand. I don't have to pay taxes on it. But if I take it to another or a resale shop or anything else, I have to pay taxes on it again. So the
And if you
government's
go,
double dipping on them. That's why
and
they
if you,
love pawn shops.
and if you go to these Amish places, you can get stuff way cheaper.
You got to know where to shop, man. The problem is we don't support local people.
I
If
support
we
them.
had it, if we had it right, farmers would support farmers. You would have a farmer that didn't monocrop one that's destroying the soil. You would
Yeah.
look at food forests that are more balanced than everything else, but you would figure this is how much I can grow and feed off of my particular farms. And you had a multiple of different farms. Well, put everybody under farm shares and open your local, we'll call it a farm share store. Because technically the government can't do anything about that. Why? Because under a farm share, you technically own the animals or own the stuff. You're just paying the farmer that actually has them to manage it, feed it, take care of it, this and that. So you're paying them for your animal. You're basically leasing the land, so to speak, at we'll say a monthly thing, but you get to reap the benefits from the products. But we don't do that for our local farmers that has those things because everything's so diverse, or you want to control prices, or once again, it's a corporation thing. What's that? And you wonder why our farms are just closing up left and right. And we're not making any profit. That's because you're taking and you're paying the middleman. The middleman's not going to take his cut. He's the one that puts the product to market. In other words, he brings it in, does a quality control inspection, and then sends it off to, say, a cannery or anything else, or straight to the grocery store as they get it for facilitating. So why not go directly to the source? I mean, your own growers, your own farmers, your own beef cattle. Let me tell you something. It's two different things. If you've ever bought a cow or a half cow and had like a actually grass-fed, home-raised thing versus something out of the store, it's two different things, man. It's like two different meats altogether.
Yep, it is. But you want to do last words?
Last words. Learn your Constitution, learn your rights. It's something your public education should have taken care of, and or your family should have taken care of, but we were all too busily entertained and everything else. The only thing we can do is the easiest way to fix it is to fix it with our next generation, and the difference begins with you taking a stand, making a difference, doing those things that our parents and grandparents didn't do for us. We learn along the way. Be flexible, be teachable, and be learnable. And then share that education with those that don't have it and work your way up the system. That's how we get through this, is helping each other out. That's America.
Yep. All right. And my last words are going to be this. Don't forget, tomorrow night at 7 o'clock is the Tip and Punisher show. They host it every Sunday. So make sure you don't miss out on it. 7 to 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And remember, people, know your laws, know your Constitution, and do not let CPS in your door without a warrant or court order. This is Vinny for CPS Hunting Justice, and we are out of here.
Imagine being a child who has been torn away from their security blanket, their parents, the ones who stopped the boogeyman from terrorizing the nights and curing their boo-boos when they scraped their knees. Now just imagine how they mightst feel when the CPS meant to protect them tears them away from their supposed abusers and places them with strangers who have zero comforting skills. They need to be calmed. They are confused, lost, panicked, and needing their parents, but CPS took them away for the purpose of saving them. The kids don't even know why, and they are told that the parents they attach to no longer want them. What do you think that does? Do you think that this is how protecting children is supposed to look? Abolish CPS.